Welcome to the Holidays to Switzerland podcast. If you're planning a trip to Switzerland, this is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Carolyn Schonefinger, the founder of holidaysto-switzerland.com. And in each episode, my expert guests and I share practical tips to help you plan your dream trip to Switzerland. You'll get helpful advice about travelling around Switzerland and hear about the most popular destinations, as well as some hidden gems. And we'll introduce you to plenty of wonderful experiences that you can enjoy as part of your Swiss vacation. Each episode is packed with expert tips, itinerary ideas, and inspiration to help make your Swiss vacation planning easy. So let's dive in. Grüezi, welcome to this week's episode. For many folks, myself included, no visit to Switzerland is complete without taking a mountain excursion. And there are hundreds to choose from. One of my favourite mountain excursions is to the Schilthorn, an almost 3,000 metre high peak just above Lauterbrunnen and Mürren in the Jungfrau region. I'm lucky enough to have visited the Schilthorn on numerous occasions, most recently in January this year. On that visit, I was able to experience 2 of the 3 brand new cable cars that have just opened as part of a massive construction project that has been underway for the last couple of years. The final section to the summit of the Schilthorn opened on March 15 this year. So I invited Alan Ramsay from Schilthorn Cableways back onto the show to tell us all about the improvements and what visitors can expect when they visit the Schilthorn. Hi, Alan. Welcome back to the podcast. It's great to have you here with us again for, I think, your 4th time on the podcast. So thank you. Oh, well, we've known each other for a very long time, and your passion for Mürren and the Schilthorn has never wavered in all the time I've known you. So I'm happy to have you back and to hear about all the exciting things that have been happening in the region recently.
It's a pleasure to be back. It's the passion just grows and grows and grows, and with the excitement of a new cable car, then it just keeps on growing, and it's a wonderful job to be in, especially with all the introductions.
Absolutely. So for those listeners who haven't heard you on the podcast before, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us how yourself, a Scotsman, ended up in Switzerland?
Yeah, I hope the listeners aren't too disappointed to hear a non-Swiss accent. But my name's Alan Ramsay. I'm responsible for the markets at the Schilthorn Cableways Limited, so it's head of markets. I came to Mürren after my sister worked for a winter season, and I was finishing my studies in Dundee in Scotland, and I wanted to get her job for the following season. And I managed to persuade Frau Togwalder, who's still in the village. She was managing the Hotel Alpina. And she said, come on, employ me for the next winter. And she said she couldn't. She'd only employ ladies. I said, come on. And eventually she said, okay, you can come, but you have to bring a friend who's going to share your room, and he's going to do a shift in the hotel once a day as well. So I managed to talk a friend into doing that. And that winter season became a very, very long winter season. So it's now been more than half my life I've been in this area. And I got a Swiss wife, which is French speaking, but from the canton of Bern. And 2 trilingual Swiss daughters. Their mother tongue is French, and they grew up in the German-speaking area, and they speak a form of English from me.
You're a pseudo-Swiss then. We'll give you a big tick as being Swiss. So for those people that are listening that perhaps aren't familiar with the Schilthorn, can you tell us whereabouts in Switzerland it is?
Yeah, the Schilthorn's in the Bernese Oberland, so it's central southern Switzerland. A lot of people will know Interlaken and the area around Interlaken. And from the Interlaken, you just head up the valleys, you head towards the Eigenmünchen Jungfrau, but you have a split at Zweiluchinen where you either go to Grindelwald or to the Lauterbrunnen Valley. And if you go to the Lauterbrunnen Valley, there's a couple of ways to come up from there to Mürren. And it's just got the best view of the famous trio of Eigenmünchen Jungfrau mountains.
So a great location right in the heart of Switzerland. Why is it that the Schilthorn is actually one of the most famous mountains in Switzerland? Because even people that haven't been to Switzerland have often heard of the Schilthorn. Why is that?
Well, the Schilthorn was always an incredibly popular hike for many, many years, and the locals used to take tourists up to the Schilthorn just to sit in the peak because of the incredible view you could get around it. And a local guy called Ernst Feutz, who was a bit of an entrepreneur and engineer, decided that why don't we build a cable car all the way to the top of the Schilthorn to make it much more accessible for anybody that wants to go and sit up there and enjoy the incredible 360-degree view. So he managed to convince people to find the finance, and they started building the cableway. The company was formed, I think, in 1962. The cable car was finished at the top in about 1967, and then they were getting short of money. And there was a German location scout called Hubert Fröhlich, who was coming through, sent by Ian Productions. So Ian Productions was saying, we've got the book on Her Majesty's Secret Service. We need a film location, and Blofeld's hideout is on the peak in the Swiss Alps. So Hubert went through Italy, Austria, Germany, and came to Switzerland looking for the perfect location. He was in Grindelwald, and someone said, yeah, but they've just built a cable car up to the Schilthorn. That would probably do. So he came up and had a look around here and immediately phoned Cubby Broccoli and Harry Saltzman, the 007 film producers, to say he's found the perfect location. Cubby's daughter is Barbara and her half-brother Michael. They've just sold the creative control for the 007 films to Amazon for a supposedly $1 billion. So they're in the news as well. So Cubby Broccoli and Harry Saltzman came over, looked at it and said, yep, this is the place, we're going to do it. So Hollywood came to Murren in 1968 and 69, and they filmed on Her Majesty's Secret Service. It was perfect timing for us, also because they helped to finance the building on top of the summit. So there was a lot of help to finish the building. They wanted the helicopter landing spot, so that's why there's a platform out there. So there's lots of synergy of different ideas coming together. And of course, when the film came out in 1969, the Schilthorn was very young. So it's been a famous James Bond location ever since.
Okay, so that first cable car was built back in, 1967, I think you just said. And there's just been the opening of a brand new project. So there's now new cable cars going right up to the Schilthorn. So as we're recording this, the final leg was opened just a couple of days ago, so about a month ago when this podcast goes live. So it's all brand new. Can you tell us about the new project and what people can expect when they get to the Schilthorn?
Well, the infrastructure, as you said, it's almost 50 years old. It's not all original. The cable cars have been replaced and cables have been replaced, but the pylons, the concrete and all the rest of it was all getting old. So the board of directors had a choice. It was, are we going to renovate everything and get it a little bit up to standard, or do we build a brand new cable car? Details were discussed during the pandemic, and work started in March 2023 with the removal of the old transport cableway from Stechelberg to Murren. The building of a new transport cableway from Stechelberg to just above Murren, and from there to Berg and then Berg to Schilthorn, was then built. Now this saved the area from thousands of helicopter flights, which saved a lot of noise and CO2 pollution. The first section for a cableway for passengers from Stechelberg to Murren starts at 866 metres above sea level and rises to 1641 metres above sea level. So that's 775 metres in altitude, and it takes just under 4 minutes. And this is the steepest cable car in the world at 159.4%, or just under 60 degrees. So that section was built and opened in December 2024. The second section from Murren to Berg, the old one is still operating, but it's about to be taken out of commission, but it's been there in the winter just in case things get busy. The second section is the first Funifor in Switzerland, so this is a totally different system to the one coming directly up. The one coming directly up is a pendulum, so you've got two always moving. And the second section, Murren to Berg, is two independent Funifors. So the first Funifor opened also in December 2024. Funifor system is a system which means that the cables that the cable car hangs on, they are as wide, if not wider, than the cable car itself. And the cable car itself is much, much closer to the cables, especially compared to the one coming up from Stechelberg to Murren. Because it's built like this, it gives it incredible stability. So that means we've got a much better chance of getting the customers from the valley to the summit in poor weather conditions. But more importantly, I always say, is getting them back down again after they've been up there if the weather changes. And the section that opened on Saturday, a couple of days ago, that's the same Funifor system. So through the winter season, so since the middle of October, we've closed the Schilthorn and we've been building the second Funifor section that goes from Berg up to Schilthorn. And that was completed and then opened on Saturday.
Now that the final leg up to the Schilthorn is now opened, is that the end of the work or is there still anything to be completed?
No, it was great to have the top section finished and finally being able to reach the Schilthorn, but the work is far from finished. As I said before, we're dismantling the old cable car at the end of the winter season, and in between the old cable car and the brand new Funifor, we're going to install a second Funifor. And some of the building in Muren and on Berg is all ready for it. Muren has got to be finished, and we'll be installing the new cableway through the summer, and that will open in November 2025. And once that's finished, we will then finish the second cableway from Berg all the way to the Schilthorn. That will take until the first week in April, so April 2026, we will finish the second Funifor between Berg and Schilthorn. And so in springtime 2026, we will be finished with this project. But we do have other projects to keep the interest going. But if I told you, then I would have to kill you.
So what's the reasoning behind having two Funifor cableways between each of those sections? Is that so that you can operate all year round?
A great question. It's because in the past between Muren and Berg, it was the pendulum cableway, and we had to close for 3, 4, 5 weeks every autumn, plus a week in spring in order to do safety checks and to do a complete revision of the system. Because we've got autonomous Funifor cableways in these two sections, it means we can service and maintain one of the cable cars while running the other one independently because it's autonomous. And because of that, it means we are now having the Schilthorn open 365 days a year.
Excellent. We will talk a little bit more about the cable car rides shortly because I was lucky enough to ride on those first two sections in January, which was absolutely fantastic. But could you perhaps talk our listeners through what happens when they arrive at the Valley Station if they're planning to visit and head on up to the summit of the Schilthorn? Can you talk us through what they can expect for each leg of the excursion?
Sure. Well, your arrival, if you're coming to us through the Lauterbrunnen Valley, you're going to arrive either in a car, self-drive car, and then you drive into the park car, find a parking space and walk to the ticket office. If you come by bus on a tour or with the Swiss post buses, then they will drop you right outside the station building in Stechelberg, which is brand new. Outside the station, there's automatic ticketing dispensers. So if you need a ticket, you can go straight to the machine, plug in your information and buy your ticket, and you get a QR code. If you're not sure or not happy working with an automatic machine and you want to speak to somebody, you can go in and there'll be someone in the ticket office from 8 in the morning till 6 at night, and they will sell you the ticket and explain what you need to go and where you're going and make sure that you get exactly what you need, because you've got a journey that takes you from Muren. You can still go to Gimmelwald, you can come directly up to Muren, you can get out in Berg and you can get out in Schilthorn, and it might be different depending what you want to do. So they'll help to advise you there. Once you have your ticket, you walk up the stairs, or there's a lift. If you're not keen on walking stairs, you can walk up, you take the lift up to the first floor, and from the first floor the cable cars will depart. There's turnstiles there with an orange kind of light, and you show the QR code that's on your ticket, let it read it there, and you walk through the turnstile and enter the cable car. All the buildings are designed the same, so when everything's finished, there's always two cable cars arriving and departing, and there's a middle section between those two cable cars, and the entry point into the cable car is always in the middle. You enter the cable car, the doors will eventually close, and you will head up to the next station, in this case from Stechelberg to Muren. When you arrive in Muren, you will depart on the outside. So if you go up the left one, you'll leave on the left, and if you go up the right one, you'll leave on the right. You walk through the building in Muren, and inside the same building at the other end, you will see the cable cars that are leaving from Muren up to Berg. Same system applies there. You'll have a turnstile before There'll eventually be 2 cable cars leaving here, and you enter at the midpoint between the cable cars through your QR code, enter into the cable car, and it will leave to head from Mourne up to Berg. And the same thing again there, you're going to arrive in a station. If you go up the left-hand cableway, you'll depart on the left. If you go up the right, you'll depart on the right. When you arrive in Berg, you depart from there, you walk through the building to the final section, and again, it'll be the same system. Enter in the middle and arrive in the left. If you're on the left to the right will be the departure, and you'll be standing on top of the Schilthorn at 2,970 metres above sea level. Once you're at the top, there will be escalators taking you from the station up towards the takeaway area, and then you have the revolving restaurant up at the top.
Okay. So tell everyone perhaps a bit about that revolving restaurant, because it was a key player in that James Bond movie, but what can people expect at the restaurant today?
So because the building was built in the summit, at the very top of the building, on top of the summit, we have a restaurant, and the restaurant revolves 360 degrees. So the outer tables, there's about 31, 32 tables seating up to 8 people. And these tables and chairs will revolve 360 degrees. It takes 45 minutes to make a full revolution. You can reserve a table online at the bottom right of our homepage on the website. You can click on the knife and fork and make a table reservation. Make sure you get up there in plenty of time for the table reservation, because it's going to get busy up there with the new cable car. But you can sit there and enjoy and go around. The table reservation's an hour and a half long, and so that means you'll go around 2 times during your dinner.
But it's not only lunch or drinks that people can enjoy, so there's a delicious brunch available.
Yep, the famous Schilthorn brunch starts at 8 o'clock in the morning and goes on until 2 o'clock. And at 11 o'clock, we move from a more breakfasty menu with sausages, bacon, waffles, scrambled eggs, mueslis, yogurts and things. Then we move to more salad type things. There's 5 different soups. There's pasta, there's meat, there's all sorts of things there. But it covers every diet you can think of. So you can be gluten-free, lactose-free, vegetarian, vegan, halal, whatever you want, then we've got something there for you. So it's an easy one. It's only 38 francs for the brunch. You've got an hour and a half to eat as much as you want.
So what else can people do at the summit station?
Well, the restaurant's also got Piz Gloria burger. So there's a picture of the burger stamped on top of the bun. And we do a beef or fish or chicken or vegetarian or vegan burger. So we've got them all covered there. But there's also umpteen different international dishes you can enjoy as well. Obviously, you can have a dry martini shaken, not stirred. Bollinger champagnes, the champagne of James Bond. So that's definitely a part of being up there. But there's a good selection of food and drink there. 1 floor lower, we've got a takeaway area. So if you don't want to go for a long lunch or brunch, you can just grab a snack or a coffee there. You can go out on the terrace and to the skyline view platform to see Eigermund and Jungfrau and just enjoy the view from 2,970 metres above sea level. At the moment, we still have a Walk of Fame where some of the actors have left a panel with their imprints, hand imprints, a signature, a photo, and a story about what they did when they were up there, memories of the area. And then if you go down 1 floor further, we do have a spy world, but we are not sure how long that's going to last because of the Amazon buying Eon Productions. There's been a bit of backwards and forwards about how much 007 and our sense of humour work with new owners of the Eon Productions and the 007 franchise. So it's going at the moment, and with a bit of luck, we'll have something good to open. And if things don't work out, we'll find something else to do. So keep an eye on the website and we'll keep you up to date there. So that's all the things up in the Schilthorn that you can do.
Okay, so when people are either going up or down, as you said earlier, they can hop out at any of those points along the way. So if they've gone straight up to the top of the Schilthorn and they want to stop at Berg station on the way down, what can they do there?
Yep. On the way back down to the valley, you will stop at Berg. I would always get out of Berg. At Berg, we also have a little bistro, a beautiful big terrace. And at the end of the terrace, we have a platform that we call the Skyline Walk. It's a see-through platform that sticks out over the cliff. It was built in 2014, and it'll test your nerves for heights because you're a couple of 100 metres above the ground with a straight drop down the cliff face. If you look down through the flooring, you'll see the thrill walk. Now, the entrance to the thrill walk is at the back of the terrace, the opposite end to the skyline walk, and there's a walkway down there with a 200-metre cliff path hanging onto the cliff, and as you go along there, you'll come across a tightrope, you'll come across some glass flooring, a cattle grid, and at the very end there's a tunnel you can crawl through. So that'll really test your ability to cope with vertigo and heights. It's perfectly safe, easy to do. You can't go wrong, but it's not everybody's cup of tea.
I think you're looking at me when you say that. You have got me to go out on the Skyline Walk, but the Thrill Walk, I haven't braved that yet.
Yeah, I've managed to get almost everybody I've ever met to get out on the Skyline Walk, except my mother. She just wouldn't trust me whatsoever, but most folk trust me and get out there and can at least get a photograph that they'll never forget. But for a few people, then the thrill walk's just a bit too much. I mean, the cable car can be too much for some people too, but I've got a few techniques to help people overcome that and get up if they really, really want.
Great. Okay, so after they've visited Berg, the next section takes them back down to Mürren. What do you recommend people see or do whilst they're in Mürren?
Sure, Mürren's just a beautiful village. It's very special. It's car-free, which doesn't mean that there's absolutely no traffic. It just means that there's no cars running around. There's transportation to get building materials to deliver to the hotels and restaurants, for emergencies, for construction. There are some vehicles out there. It's not full of electric cars with struggling to get through the village. You'll find peace and quiet. The advantage of Mürren is it's 1 kilometre long. It only has around 400 inhabitants. It has 3 stations, so we've got our cable car station there. We've got the Almendhübel station in the middle of the village, and at the other end we have the service that from the Jungfrau railways called the Mürren BLM, which is the Bahn, the train Lauterbrunnen to Mürren. It's a train that goes along to Grutschalp and then a cable car down to Lauterbrunnen, so that's the second way up to come up to Mürren. The Almendhübel itself is a beautiful little funicular train that only takes 4 minutes and takes you up to the Almendhübel. But the village is just a beautiful place to walk around. There's basically 2 streets that are connected in various places, 1 kilometre long. So in an hour you can walk around the village very easily, and there's a souvenir shops and a co-op to buy some food or drinks. There's plenty of restaurants, and just breathtaking views from there as well.
Yeah, and it's really, I don't know if anyone's ever pictured a Swiss mountain village. Mürren is the quintessential, version, isn't it? It's all those wooden chalets and the huge mountain backdrop. It's amazing.
It's your chocolate box image.
Absolutely. So how long would you recommend people allow for an excursion to Schilthorn from the valley station or from the Lauterbrunnen Valley?
It depends. If you're in a hurry, you want to see it, you want to get up and experience it, you can do it from the valley in a couple of hours. You're going to be up and down in an hour, and you're going to have an hour on the top. If you have more time, I'd recommend it, because then you can get out at Berg, you can also get out at Mürren. So you're looking at maybe 3 to 4 hours from the valley station to do it, but you can also extend it into a full day excursion, because you could do a longer hike when you're in Mürren. You can also come back down and visit the village of Gimmelwald on the way back down. That's even smaller than Mürren, a population of 100. You could actually walk from Mürren down. There's a road that will take you down, and it's very easy. I can do it in about 20 minutes, but if you allow about 40 minutes, because I often go to Mürren for lunch and then walk down to Gimmelwald, take the last cable car down back to the office. You can also go down and have a look around Stechelberg, because that's the place where the highest waterfall in Switzerland coming down. So you've got possibilities that would include Berg, Mürren, Almendhübel, Gimmelwald and Stechelberg. So you can easily turn it into a full day excursion. And then you also have the Trummelbach waterfalls on the way back to Lauterbrunnen. So if you're doing a Lauterbrunnen, Trummelbach, Mürren excursion, try and make it the whole day for that, because there's plenty to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have any tips, perhaps that we haven't covered, that you'd like to give to anyone who's thinking of visiting the Schilthorn?
So you can check on your smartphone, you can check on the TV screens everywhere to see what the weather's like. You always want to go up on a good day, but maybe your luck's not on your side. I would always suggest the first thing you do, if you see it's clear up the top of the Schilthorn, you get up there as fast as you can and enjoy it and spend a bit of time. If you're going to go for brunch, you can reserve on the website. It's always worth reserving a table. At the moment, it doesn't cost as long as people are good. Turn up on time, we shall keep it going that way. But if we have people making reservations and then they're not turning up and they're turning up way too late, then we might have to start putting in a fee to make sure that they actually come. But hopefully that'll last a long time.
You mentioned that you had a few strategies for people who aren't keen on cable car rides. What sort of tips would you give them to actually get in that cable car and brave it? Because I think when people think, oh my gosh, the world's steepest cable car, I'm really nervous. What would you suggest they do to make sure they can enjoy this experience?
Well, there are a couple of seats in the corners, and if you can sit down, I think you can sit down and not look out and just look into the middle. If you can't get a seat, there's support poles that you can hold on to, so you can grab a hold of them. If there are people taking up someone who's struggling with vertigo, what I do is ask them questions. You ask them any kind of questions just to keep their mind going, because they won't work out why you're asking them questions, and it takes their mind off what's going on. And the big thing about the new cable car is that it's the steepest one in the world. As you leave the building, it's under 4 minutes you're going to be back on terra firma and walking again. The second section is now only 5 minutes, and the third section is only 5 minutes. And I think, and I hope and believe that people that struggle, if they get over the first one, the second one should be a bit easier because you've done it. You know you can do it, and then the third one will get easier.
And I think personally for me, who has always struggled with cable cars, but now I've kind of just pushed through that and I just get in and go. But I think the thing that I found about the new Schilthorn cable cars, the first two sections, was that they were just so smooth. I hate when they go over the pylons and the cabin sort of rocks a little, but on those two, it was just so smooth that it was very, very comforting.
Yeah. The other thing is breathing technique. So if you breathe in deeply, push your stomach out when you breathe in deeply and for a count of 4, and breathe out for a count of 8. And if you do that 2 or 3 times at the start, you're tricking your mind and your body into relaxing. And if you can keep that going by breathing, because the panic is when you start to take short, shallow breaths and you're struggling to, that's what's going to cause a little bit of the anxiety to increase. And if you can fight it by breathing properly, you'll fool yourself into getting up there with a lot more ease than otherwise.
Okay, well, there's quite a few strategies for people to try. Now, prices for the Schilthorn, obviously you mentioned earlier that people can just go and buy their ticket at the bottom station if they don't have a ticket already. If they have a travel pass, like a Swiss travel pass or a Berner Oberland pass, what discounts can they get for the Schilthorn excursion?
Well, at the moment, the full Schilthorn excursion is 108 francs return. In 2026, that price is going to have to go up because we have borrowed a huge sum of money in order to build this. So obviously the bank is wanting some of their money back, so we've got to make more money. So the prices naturally increase because you've also got a higher quality and a much faster service. But to get good deals, there's several around. You can buy a half-fare card. A half-fare card in Switzerland allows you half-priced fares all over Switzerland, and that includes the trip up the Schilthorn. The Swiss Travel Pass is a pass that allows you free of charge on boats, buses and trains. Because Murren is part of the public transportation network, then you can go all the way up to Murren free of charge. This means that you can either go via Gimmelwald, the old route up to Murren, or you can take the brand new steepest cable car in the world, and it's totally free of charge to Murren. From Murren up to Bern and to Schilthorn, you get a 50% discount. That means at current rates, then you will get that for 42 francs 80 for a return trip. So that will give you, instead of 108 for the full fare, you can pay 42.80 with the Swiss Travel Pass. And new in 2025 is the Berner Oberland Pass, which has been proved very popular in a lot of the markets. You can now travel on all of the Schilthorn band's transportation free of charge with the Berner Oberland Pass. So that's the Almond-Hubel Plus from the valley floor all the way to the Schilthorn and back. Free of charge or included in the price, depending how you look at it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, excellent. So if someone who's listening is coming to the Jungfrau region and they've only got time to do one mountain excursion, why should they visit the Schilthorn?
Fairly easy. Number one, it's a 360-degree view, and you are standing on top of a Swiss mountain, which most of the other mountain excursions can't offer you. They don't take you all the way to the top of the mountain. But number two is you can ride on the latest and most amazing new cable car system that includes the steepest cable car ride in the world. What more would you want? Simple
as that. And yeah, the views from up there really are incredible. You've actually got to stand up there and see them to believe them. It's quite amazing. Thank you so much, Alan, for giving us all that info about the brand new Schilthorn Cableways. Where can people get more information, aside from on holidaystoSwitzerland.com, of course? Where can they get more info about the Schilthorn?
The best place for information about the Schilthorn is www.schilthorn.ch. If you scroll all the way to the bottom of the homepage, you will find our project website, which is www.schilthornbahn20xx.ch. And on that, we have lots of facts and figures all about the brand new cable car. There are images you can download and the lengths and diameter of cables, and for the technophobes that want to know all the little pieces of information, it's the perfect place to go. We also have videos on both. So there's a YouTube site for Schilthorn Piz Gloria, and there you'll get videos all about the products that we have, but all about the project. So you can find out about how much copper we've got in the buildings and how many tons of concrete and all sorts of very interesting facts about what was done. Like the building workers being flown up for the last 5 months. They were flown up to the Schilthorn in order to work from Monday to Friday, and we would take them back down on the Friday. The restaurant became a temporary building workers hotel.
Amazing. I'm sure there's plenty of interesting facts available on the website for people to read. Thank you again. And hopefully we've encouraged a lot of people to make sure that they include a visit to the Schilthorn when they're visiting the Jungfrau region.
Thank you very much for allowing me to appear again on the podcast. And if you come all the way to Switzerland and don't travel on the steepest cable car in the world, I'm sure you're going to miss out something. And to go on the Schilthorn afterwards, it's an incredible experience. And I was just as excited on Saturday as I have been in the last 34 years.
Wonderful. Well, I'm glad the opening went well, and now we can all get back up to the summit again. If riding on the world's steepest cable car doesn't convince you to visit the Schilthorn, the views from the summit certainly will. A quick look at the Schilthorn's website or the photos that I've included in the show notes will give you an idea of the breathtaking panoramas that you can see from both the summit at 2,970 metres above sea level and from the Berg Intermediate Station. The vistas are truly spectacular. If you're keen to visit the Schilthorn, don't forget that rail pass holders are entitled to some generous discounts. And starting this year, 2025, Berner Oberland pass holders can travel all the way to the summit for free, which is incredible value. I'll include links to get more information about the various Swiss rail passes and the Schilthorn in the show notes for this episode. And you can download a copy of my free guide, 21 Useful Things to Know Before You Visit Switzerland, from there as well. The show notes are at holidaystoSwitzerland.com/episode 131. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you've enjoyed the episode, please consider sharing the podcast with your family, friends, and colleagues who are also planning a trip to Switzerland. And if you enjoy the show, I'd be super grateful if you could leave a 5-star rating or review wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks so much. Until next week, tschüss!
She lived with you guys for 2 years, and you never heard from her again after that.
Please don't text me or call me again.
She'd finished her art history degree and was researching a Swiss painter, Ursula Blum.
He's standing by a tree, looking right at me.
Emma!
Music is 100% abstract.
Ursula walked up to her and whispered a song in her ear, and the girl recovered her ability to speak.
Sometimes mythology merges with reality.
What's going on here?
Bloom is out now. Find out why this audio thriller is taking the podcast world by storm. Available on your favorite platform. That's Bloom.